Dear students, so toxicity, that is the toxic means harmful substances, that is the chemical substances that produce toxic effects or adverse effect is called as toxicity. So the toxicity of substance depends on the following factors. So these are all the some of the factors that influencing the toxicity. That means that increases the levels, that increases the toxic level. So first one is a form of chemical activity and innate activity, and then next factor is dosage, exposure, route, species. That is the species difference is also one of the toxic increases the toxic level. Age, sex, absorption, inhalation, ingestion, metabolism and excretion. So these are all the some of the factors that increases toxic level. So first one is that is chemical and innate activity. So this form of a chemical substance may have a profound impact on its toxicity, especially metallic elements. For example, the toxicity of mercury vapor differ greatly from methyl mercury. That the mercury vapor is not toxic, but the other form of mercury, that is methyl mercury, is toxic in nature. So another example is chromium. So chromium is a non-toxic, whereas chromium 6+ causes a skin, nasal corrosion and lung cancer. So the form of chemical is toxic. And then innate chemical activity, that means the innate chemical activity of substance also varies greatly. Some substance can quickly damage the cells, causing immediate cell death, and other slowly interfere only with cell function. Example, hydrogen cyanide. So the hydrogen cyanide causes sudden death, and then nicotine causes paralysis. And then next important factor is dosage. The dosage is most important and critical factor in determining if the substance will be an acute or chronic toxicant. So the dosage is very high, means that will cause us some side effects like organ damage. Virtually all chemicals can be acute toxicants if sufficiently large doses are administered. Yes, all chemicals, including the drugs, that is medication, also having some side effects. If the medication is used in very minimal doses, that will treat for disease. If the medication is used for very large doses, that will affect our organs. So the example for this dosage is ethanol. The ethanol causes CNS depression, that is acute, but prolonged use of ethanol causes liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis means that is death, liver cell death. Next one is arsenic, causes gastrointestinal tract damage. The prolonged exposure of arsenic is one of the heavy metal. Prolonged exposure of arsenic causes skin and then liver cancer. And then next one is exposure route. So the route of exposure is also one of the factor that increases the toxic level. So it is the important factor determining the toxicity. Some chemicals may be high by toxic in one route but not another route. The two major reasons are difference in absorption and distribution within the body. If the chemical is ingested, means it can absorb and then it can be digested, then absorbed, then only the toxic substance enter into the blood circulation. If the chemical that is toxicant or inhaled, inhaled means this kind of route is very easily expose the toxicant in our body. And then next type of factor is species, that is toxic response can vary substantially depending on the species. Example, insecticide is lethal to insect but relatively non-toxic to humans. And then age is the one of the important factor to increase the toxic level. So it may be important in determining the response to toxicant. Some chemicals are toxic to infants or elderly than to young. Example, parathion is a more toxic to young animal. And then nitrosamine is a carcinogenic to newborn. Next one is sex. So the sex that represents the sex is the one of the factor. The toxic response can vary depending on the sex. If the male is prone easily affect the toxicants because the male contains increased BMR and then muscle mass, digestion all over. The male are prone to increase. Absorption is the uptake of substance from environment into organ. The ability to absorb is essential for systemic toxicity to occur. Inhalation means readily absorb the gases into the bloodstream via alveoli. And then ingestion means absorption through gastrointestinal tract. So these are all the various routes of exposure to toxicant. And then excretion, that is metabolism means, so all the absorption, inhalation, ingestion, all this route of exposure of the toxicant may be metabolized in the liver. It can be metabolized in the liver and then excreted through urine and feces. If the toxic chemical is supposed to inhaled means through sneezing the toxicant means exhaled. Thank you.